This is the Good Government Show.
You know, politics is just, in my opinion, how communities organize, how communities choose to organize. Partisan politics is different, I think, you know. We are in a political moment where people are looking for authentic leaders who, when you talk to them, they're truly passionate about what they're passionate about. Some of these systemic problems require an approach that's thoughtful and takes time to create a plan that's going to endure. I will listen to people that, you know, at times I'm going to have disagreements with, but there's still nuggets of truth, I think, in a lot of different places. So yeah, I'm all over the place. You know, twice I've been with the President of the United States, which is just, and by with, I mean like standing next to and talking to, which is not something I would have ever thought I would have the opportunity to do in my lifetime.
Here on the Good Government Show, we look for good ideas and good government everywhere. One thing we like to see is younger candidates running for office and getting involved. With the average age of a representative in Congress at 57 and the average in the Senate at almost 65, seeing younger people take office seems like a good idea and seems like good government. Welcome to the Good Government Show. I'm Dave Martin. First, help us share the message of good government by liking us and sharing us where we are on Facebook, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Please share our show with your friends and don't forget to review us. Let's get everyone excited about good government. So, Justin Douglas was elected to his office as county commissioner in 2023. How he got there is quite a story. He was a pastor at a church, but as he will explain, he was forced out. Then he got a call. A nationwide organization called Run for Something reached out to him. This is an organization that encourages people under the age of 40 to run for office. They provide support and expertise to aspiring candidates. They've helped get people elected to offices like county judge, city council, state representative, and county commissioner. Since 2017, they've helped over 1,000 candidates get elected in 48 states. Justin ran citing prison reform, among other issues. Not, as he will tell you, a popular issue to run on, but he won, and now that he's in office, he's helped push for prison reform. He's increased the number of ballot boxes in the county and helped create a solution for people who fill out their ballots incorrectly. He's been accused of being, quote, a bomb thrower, but he's also been effective. In January 2025, after just 1 year in office, Justin Douglas was elected chairman of the board of the county commission. It's been a busy year. I talked to Commissioner Douglas a few months after he was first elected, but before he made board chair. So listen to my conversation with Justin Douglas as he talks about how he got into office and what motivates him to deliver good government. That's coming next. AI, the cloud, security solutions, all hot topics that are transforming how government works. Amazon Web Services is here to help government on the federal, state, and local levels figure out what's next and what's right for them. Join Amazon Web Services at the DC Summit in Washington, D.C. on June 10th and 11th and learn from industry leaders. You can participate in technical sessions and get hands-on training. You can hear directly from AWS experts who understand what government needs and network with others who are working just like you. Get up to speed on the latest information and plan your technology future with the support you need and want. Register now at aws.com/DC Summit, and I'll see you in Washington. AI isn't the future of government, it's happening now. Let Polimorphic power your government with AI like other agencies are already doing. Polimorphic helps you power resident-first service to streamline requests while reducing staff workloads and speeding up how your citizens get answers. It's a secure system that's built for government. You'll see immediate results with more informed citizens. Want to see how AI can help you power a service-first government? Visit polymorphic.com. That's polymorphic.com. County government affects more people than any other form of government. That's why we like talking to so many representatives of county government here on the Good Government Show. They are the voice of public service. The National Association of Counties, or NACO, supports all 3,069 counties across the USA. This year, their annual conference is in Philadelphia in July. Plan to attend the conference and join them in their efforts to bring good government to America's counties. Check out the details at naco.org. That's naco.org. Welcome to the Good Government Show. I am very happy to finally meet and have corralled County Commissioner Justin Douglas from Dauphin County, Pennsylvania, Harrisburg. Welcome to the Good Government Show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate, David, you inviting me on, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Good, as am I. Now, I became aware of you by listening to another podcast where an organization called Run for Something urged you to run.
Yeah.
Is it so? What was that call like?
Oh, I was a CrossFit coach. I'm a pastor and a CrossFit coach in early 2023, and got a call while I was running an open gym, which just meant I could kind of be in the office while people were working out at the gym, and didn't recognize the number. And thought, hey, I'll answer it. We'll see who this is. And it ended up being Run for Something, asking me to run for office, run for county commissioner in Dauphin County. And they mobilize young individuals to run, and it was an exciting call. And just kind of from there, I wasn't sure that I wanted to run. I just kind of started exploring it, but they kind of walked me through that and got some resources in my hand when I made the decision to run that were incredibly helpful to where I am today, to get to where I am today.
Why did they call you? Why did they target you?
I think some of my background in the community locally, being a pastor, but also being very active in community organizing and such, pretty passionate about a lot of social justice issues in the area. And I think they had seen that and had become aware of me that way. I don't know. At some point, I might have filled out like a card for them. We both have gone back and forth on like, did I fill something out? Then that got me on the radar. Did someone fill something out for me?
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a mystery.
You're no longer a pastor.
Well, technically, I've in my church, I founded it. So I've gone to founding pastor status. Okay. I founded a church in 2019 after losing my license in a different church for being affirming of LGBT people. So that is very passionate to me. That's like a passion project for me. So I've gone to founding pastor status. We're currently working on hiring a full-time pastor.
And because you were supportive of LGBTQ rights, they decided that you were not fit to be a pastor.
That was the case in 2019 of what happened for LGBT inclusion in the church. So yeah, that in some ways put me, put a spotlight on me, I think, in the community as, a pastor standing up for a community that's often, overlooked and underserved.
Isn't that what church is supposed to be about? Is community and bringing people together and all that? Yeah,
and I think there's a variety of views on theology. I have 2 degrees in theology. I have a master's in theology. I understand that this is a contentious view. This isn't just a simple one size fits all answer. In our particular case, we were really trying to just serve the people that had found their way into our community. And we felt strongly about those people being part of our community because, God had sent them to us and I was their pastor and I wasn't going to, back down from that.
Did you ever consider running for office?
No. I mean, I've always been very politically engaged or engaged in different races or different, political ideology and just tried to be mindful and aware. And I've had, my own kind of, I grew up in a very conservative world and I've kind of, moved to a more, I guess, liberal for lack of a better term, or just a more progressive viewpoint of the world. And that's come through a lot of engagement with a lot of different people through, being aware and discussing things. And a lot of that is theology too. It's not just, politics is just, in my opinion, how communities organize, how communities choose to organize. Okay. Partisan politics is different, I think, and so I always think I'm trying to reclaim the word politics. I think politics are just simply how we agree to organize our community. The fact that I'm watching a trolley go by right now, that's political. Someone decided they were going to, divert funds to a free trolley that goes through Tampa, which is awesome. I actually wrote it the other day. I'm excited that political decision was made.
We're in Tampa at the National Association of Counties Convention, and they have a streetcar that goes from through central downtown. So that's
a political decision. That doesn't have to be a partisan decision, though. That could just be for the good and betterment of the community. And so I've always been engaged in things that I think, at least from my worldview and my scope, are for the good and betterment of the community.
Okay. And they came in, they convinced you to run. What made you decide to flip the switch and say, okay, I'll do it?
The hope that I can make a difference. I was going to run on a platform that really I don't think anybody else was going to run on, which was prison reform. We've had a lot of challenges in Dauphin County Prison where we're at with prisoner deaths and challenges for resources, and it was something that I was very passionate about trying to.
Not a popular topic.
No, just about everyone told me you're not going to win a race running on prison reform. And I think there's truth to that. I think there's also truth to we are in a political moment where people are looking for authentic leaders who, when you talk to them, they're truly passionate about what they're passionate about. And I felt like I had an opportunity to connect with people about something that I could concisely convey as an important thing that mattered to them, even if it didn't matter to them before the conversation started. And so, we knocked over, for example, 1,000 Republican doors, even though people told us not to waste our time. And many of the Republicans I talked to were very concerned about it from a liberty and freedom perspective of some of the, treatment of prisoners and also the treatment of COs. Correction officers, the average lifespan of correction officers nationwide is 58 years old, which is just horrendous. And a lot of that is because, the lack of resources in our county jails and in our systems of incarceration, and how we treat our inmates is often indicative of, the lack of resources also for correction officers. So it's a holistic approach that I think makes everyone's lives better as we seek to do justice in our communities and hold people accountable for when they break the law.
And less people in prison, less people returning to prison.
Certainly.
Smaller prisoner population, the need for less guards, the need for services, mental health services, other health services, reform services. So having a smaller prison population is good across the board, economically and socially, correct?
Yeah. Investment in reentry is really important because of that recidivism thing we see in most particular cases where, people are reoffending and they're not being given opportunity upon coming out. And, once you spend some time in a prison of any kind, you're typically kind of bound to repeat that cycle, unfortunately. And so trying to see how the county can invest in services that help us beat that cycle.
What got you interested in prison reform?
I've always kind of had a heart for people who are overlooked, underserved. And I think there's probably no greater population than a population we lock behind four walls.
Have you done work in ministry inside prisons?
Yes. Okay. I've had much contact with prisoners and families of people who are in prison. And so that I did most of that work when I lived in Wisconsin.
Okay.
But I've had some exposure to it here in Pennsylvania where I'm at now. And so that was an inspiration to me, but I think ultimately just looking at the deaths that were taking place in our prison and feeling a sense of calling, if you will, to really challenge that and try to say we need better systems and structures here to ensure that like a sentence to Dauphin County Prison, which by the way is 2 years or less. If you get 2 years or more, you're going to state. There's no reason that should ever be a death sentence,
So let's get back to the reason why you got elected and ran for office. Do you hope to inspire other people to run for office?
Certainly. I think we're at this time right now in politics where we need young, fresh voices that are bringing new perspectives that ultimately are authentic and true to themselves. And I think we need that on both parties. I think we need that on both parties and in the middle. And I think that would be for the betterment of we talk about representation all the time. I think, having young people represented. I've met so many amazing young people. I don't consider myself a young person. I'm 40 years old. But
you're young.
But I've met so many amazing, I have an intern right now who's 20 and I mean, he's absolutely phenomenal. And I think of him running for office, and I think of, other people that I've had the pleasure of meeting in this journey that are, under 30 that are, fabulous people and have great ideas and have a work ethic, unlike anything I've seen from their generation. It's like, let's go, let's get you plugged into the right spot and get you working and get you unleashed on making a difference in the community. And so I'm very passionate about supporting people, and certainly I'll continue to support Run for Something and their efforts. And I've already done that even, since being elected. But I think any mobilization of young people to get involved is really good.
and you've had a pretty impressive start to your political career. I understand you've introduced the president.
Yeah, my second day in office, I was driving my car to the office, and I got a call from a number I didn't recognize, which at that point it was happening a lot just because I didn't come from politics. So I didn't have, it's not like I was a township commissioner or supervisor and then became a commissioner of the county. So I didn't have a lot of connections. So a lot of people are calling me, either congratulating me on taking my oath of office or, trying to set up meetings. And so I answered it, and I was told it was the Biden-Harris campaign, and they were asking me if I would be interested in opening for the president on January 5th, as he was going to be at Valley Forge area. And I thought I was being pranked. And they asked me to write a speech really quickly. And so I wrote one on my phone, on my notes app on my phone. I wrote a speech.
Okay.
Sent it over. They texted back and said they really liked the speech, and sent me to White House for clearances, and said I'd know later that night if I passed clearances, and found out that afternoon that I had passed clearances, and that the next day I'd be introducing the president of the United States when he kicked off his campaign January 5th, which was just still surreal to even say. Like I've looked at the pictures and I'm just like, it was kind of like an out of body moment. It was so busy during that season. And I just kind of I was just very focused on delivering my speech as good as I could. And I think I did all right. I've never stood behind the presidential seal and given a speech before. So that was a first, and I wasn't sure what to expect, but I was happy with it. And an impressive start. When the doors open, I just walk through them. That's kind of been my life motto. And that was a random door that I didn't expect to open.
I understand that one of the things you ran on was you wanted to open up the election process. Tell me what your vision was and what you've been able to do.
Yeah, I think, fair and accessible elections and safe elections is really important. And I think part of that fairness is more ballot access to drop boxes. And so we went from 2 drop boxes in the election that I was in, where I was successful, which, by the way, every vote counts. On the night of the election, I was ahead by 42 votes, and I won by 184 votes. So every single vote counts. Your vote counts. And we want to make sure it counts. And I think every county would say this. We want to make sure it counts. We want to make sure you have access to it. And so we've now expanded our drop boxes to 7 across the county. Okay. And this last primary was 7. And then we also included a ballot key for language access for Spanish-speaking voters. We have a large Bhutanese Nepali community that I'm hopeful we can continue to make headway in language access for them. So there's still work on the table to be done, but we've made some pretty big strides just in the short period of time since being elected.
Well, good government means having more people involved and more voting. Definitely. You get better government, right?
100%. And that's a big priority of mine.
Okay. Any resistance?
I mean, there's certainly people who, have different views about, ballot drop boxes, and we've listened to those concerns and ensured that security is a part of that. All of our ballot drop boxes are in areas where our MDJs, our magisterial district judges are, and therefore they're 24-hour monitored by cameras. And so we heard a lot of the concerns and ensured that the security process was put in place, that it was going to be done and done well, because that's, as you're the Good Government podcast, obviously when we roll out new ideas to be more inclusive and to involve more people, we want to make sure we're doing it in a way that's going to be done well and thoroughly, and, and that we think through worst case scenarios.
So what have you learned on the job in your first year, not even as county commissioner?
6 months.
6 months, sorry.
Yeah, I think I've learned that,
there's a lot I didn't know.
There's a lot I didn't know. Oh my gosh. I could write a book on just things I didn't know.
Are you becoming well-versed in things like street cleaning and plumbing and water use and land management and zoning?
Yes. I think all of the things that most people, the non-sexy things about government, that most people don't really think about, becoming aware of those. Thankfully, we have an amazing team in our county. Our county is 286,000 residents. We have close to 1,600 employees. So I got a great team to lean on. I have 2 other commissioners, one with 20 years experience as a commissioner, another with 12. So, I've got.
Do they welcome you?
For the most part, yeah.
Okay, good. Okay.
We have our differences and disagreements, but we find a way to work together. And I think, one of the good things is seeing their experience allows me to also just learn from listening to them talk. I listened to our chairman, Commissioner Hartwick, talk in a meeting, and within, a couple minutes of him chatting, I'm learning about all different kinds of things. So ultimately, I'd say what I've learned is like to be more patient. I'm very much here's the problem, let's get it solved tomorrow. And learning that like some of these systemic problems require an approach that's thoughtful and takes time to create a plan that's going to endure. And so that's something. And then compromise, part of the challenge is like, as more of a community organizer / activist, compromise isn't really something you do much, but in this particular role, compromise is a part of it. And that's part of working together and finding a solution that, ultimately in the end, is good. One of the things I've been using, our staff uses, is kind of like a football analogy. We say, we might score a touchdown on this drive, but if we got to settle for a field goal, that's okay. Sometimes we're going to have to punt, and that kind of stinks, but let's do our best not to turn the ball over. That's kind of what we think about.
I mean, you sort of hit on this, but being a pastor, you're literally the voice of God in that community.
Oh, wow. Be careful.
Well, the voice of, not the actual, but the voice of. How hard is it to adjust to being one of three?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I can see that to be a challenge. I've always been a communal team kind of person, even in my church. Like, I would say it's very interesting. I've been reflecting recently on kind of a lot of ways in which I feel very equipped for county government, not because I have a background in government or I have a background in how counties work, but because I have this very large 20 years plus experience of serving people and inspiring people to, find the best in themselves. And I think part of, the county is inspiring people to see solutions that are going to be for the betterment of the community. And it's and a big part of my job is serving people, serving my staff, serving the community, and even just showing up for an event and being service to the person who took all this time to put an event on. There's a lot of ways that there's overlap from ministry to this, and that I've found that to be encouraging.
Okay. I know you mentioned, and I wanted to ask about this, Dauphin County has built tiny homes for veterans. I think you had said you had 12 homes. Yeah. How's that project coming along, and what difference has it made so far? Yeah,
so it just recently, I believe last month, we cut the ribbon on that. So we're very early on in the stages, and we're monitoring it very closely. I believe there's 15 tiny homes for veterans. So unhoused veterans are going to each get a tiny home. There was an application process for that, or a process through which they went out and found those individuals in our community. Yeah. It's a largely private, somewhat public funding, and we're monitoring it just to see what the success of it's going to look like. They have a community center that's detached from the homes that has like a kitchen and other parts of it, and then like resources, and it's a whole program being launched that we're excited to see what the efficacy of it will be, so that we can potentially apply that in other ways. And even as
these vets now have their own house, right?
Yes, I mean they have their own one. It almost is like the size of a bedroom. It has just a bedroom, pretty much. Like a bedroom, a bathroom, a shower, and a little bit of a space for storage for clothing and other items. And then, all their meals are in the community center area, which is just walking distance. And they live, amongst 14 other vets, and they do, I believe, like group workshops together and other things to build some competencies for getting out into the workforce. Right. And then just there's service providers there that are going to help them have their needs met, so that they can, hopefully the goal is that they can become independent, that this can be a transitional program into, permanent housing.
Okay. All right. Now that we've got all that out of the way. Okay. All right. All of the way. Now we're going to find out what you really think about government. Are you ready?
Oh, gosh. Sure.
All right. We're going to take a break and we're going to talk about that.
These are difficult times. And if you believe in justice, progress, and democracy, the news you read and listen to can be pretty depressing. And that's why there's a new podcast called Good News for Lefties and America. Every day it features positive news stories for progressive listeners. Because no matter how disturbing the headlines might be, there's always hope we can build on for a better tomorrow. Good News for Lefties and America. Listen on this platform at goodnewsforlefties.com or wherever podcasts are heard.
Here it is, the Good Government Show questionnaire. Now that you've been doing this for 6 months, define good government.
Good government is government that considers the people first and considers how the needs of the community are going to be met through the policies that are passed.
I should have said this before. We're going to do this now, and we're going to do this again in 4 years, and we're going to see how everything matches up. So
I better remember that quote then.
Yeah, we will record it. You can listen to it later in the future. How do you judge you 6 months in? How do you know if you're doing a good job? How have you judged your success?
So we have a GSD list in my office. We call it the Get Stuff Done list. And
the what?
GSD list, our Get Stuff Done list. And so there's things on there that are priorities that we've gotten done, and there's things that we still have yet to get done. But I think of something like, very tangible, like we had already mentioned, like the ballot drop boxes, but there's also something very tangible that got passed through our prison board that was something I was very passionate about. We used to have, prior to 2023, a very, I guess I would call it a punitive policy of pay to stay in our prison. So you'd pay $10 a day, in essence, in rent to stay in our prison. Prisoners who paid $10 a day might come out, after their sentence with $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 in debt, depending upon how long they stayed in our prison. And let's say they commit another crime, come back to our prison. If you're a parent and you want to put money on their commissary or give them money for phone calls or things of that nature, 50% of that gets seized to go toward their debt. A debt that in a lot of ways is fake debt. It's debt that we've already paid for. As a county, we've already paid for that. And so we changed that policy to stop. It sort of
feels like kicking someone when they're down a little bit.
That would be my interpretation. I mean, I'm sure there's other interpretations. Yeah. And maybe I'm naive and I don't know how to balance, I haven't had to balance a county budget but we're not really recouping enough of that money for that policy to make the difference. As much money as we recoup, we're really putting a lot of stress on families, which is really hard for me to, if you want to talk to your child who's incarcerated and you go put money on their commissary and half of it gets taken off. So we abolished that policy of taking 50% off. So there's things that I've been able to see that I think, were I not present, that probably wouldn't have had a champion. I'm thankful we've been able to find some consensus in getting those things done, but there's certainly things that I've been championing.
If people feel like they're not getting the government that they want, what should they do?
They should show up to meetings. That's one of the most heartbreaking things for me to see, is to hear people who have legitimate issues in the community and they don't show up to meetings to share. And I think one of the challenges is a lot of our meetings happen during the day, during times when people are at work. But, write your legislators, if you're in Dauphin County, please, jdouglas@dauphincounty.gov, send me an email. We follow up with every constituent concern we get, and hopefully your elected officials do too. And if they don't follow up with your concerns, then great thing is you get a vote and you can put someone there who is going to follow up with your concerns.
What's the best part of your job?
The best part of my job is interacting with people who are making a difference in our community. Like when I go to events where there are people that are hustling and serving our community in a way that's just so commendable, or serving a population that otherwise would not be served if their nonprofit or their particular thing that they're passionate about would not be happening. That's a really uplifting part of my job, to go and just kind of support them and to be there, just gassing them up and telling them how much what they're doing is really impacting our area.
What's the hardest part of the job?
Sleep. No, finding time. I think the hardest part of the job, to be honest,
is 3 little kids. You were going to sleep
anyway. 3 kids too.
Matter what job you have.
Balance, I would say. You know what I mean? I think I've been thinking a lot more like recently about the Eisenhower, is it the Eisenhower quadrilateral or whatever that thing is, where he pretty much would put things in these different queues of whether or not they were urgent and necessary, or just urgent but not really necessary, and beginning to kind of structure my days in more, the tyranny of the urgent is constantly coming across your desk as an elected official. And I think that's whether you're full-time or part-time or, volunteer. City officials who aren't even getting paid are dealing with a lot of challenges, even in Harrisburg where we're at. And I say that just to say, I think that prioritization of what I give my time to, early on, it was really challenging because I didn't know as many people. So everybody requesting a meeting with me, it was like, well, I guess I meet with this person now. I guess I meet with this person. And it just became a flood of meetings. And I think now I'm starting to realize like, the only way I can say yes to the things I want to prioritize is by also saying no to things that aren't in my priority. And that's always, a challenge. So that's something I'm working through.
What has surprised you the most about this job 6 months in?
I think what surprised me the most is just, how much amazing work is being done in Dauphin County that I wasn't even aware of. I've lived in Dauphin County for 9 years. I have 3 kids, so we make our way around the county quite a bit, and we're very connected to a lot of different communities within the county. But to see, how many different events and services and the amazing people who work for our county and just things that I didn't know were happening. And I'm passionate about spotlighting how that's taking place and ensuring that, voters are informed of how the amazing things happening within our government that they don't even know about.
6 months in, what would you, now that you're a government insider, now that you're a
government insider, I'm going to put that on my Instagram, government insider.
Government insider, you're a politician. What would you like people to know about it?
It's hard work, just like your job when you go to work. There's days when you're tired.
This is my job. Is this hard?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there's days when you're tired and you got to interview somebody, but I mean, there's people in Dauphin County who go to work and who have a really great day at work, and they feel excited about what they're doing and they feel like they're making a difference. And then there's people who go to work that the next week maybe, and they have a day where they feel like they're not making a difference. They're tired. They feel beaten down. And I think it's really important that right now we put a lot of humanity on our elected officials. Like, we're human beings. Like, I understand the call that we have to make a difference in our communities, but we're not some like heroic figures who are going to change everything. Like, we don't wear capes. We're just people. And I think that's important because I think the rhetoric right now is because there's such a high expectation. And I think we should expect a lot of our elected officials, but I think at any point where we move away from expecting them to be human beings, it's dangerous territory.
You're now a newsmaker.
Oh gosh.
Do you read about yourself, and where do you get your news?
I try not to read about myself. I will say it was humbling to be on the Pod Save America podcast because that is one of my favorite podcasts to listen to. I love those guys. And so
did you know it was coming on, or did you just hear it?
No clue.
That's
I had no clue. My phone started kind of like going off with people telling me, dude, you're on Pod Save America. I was like, what do you mean I'm on Pod Save America? That's not possible. Okay. So I did not know. And so,
did you hear it, or did people tell you about it?
I went and listened. I went and listened after people told me about it. Yeah. I mean, it would have been in my regular listening schedule anyway. But yeah, I would say like I try to really get a diverse news in the sense of like, I will listen to like the mainstream here and there, but mainly where I get my news is I read a lot of the local news. So the local newspaper, Penn Live and the Sun and some of the local press. And then beyond that for like national news, I really like to do podcasts. I think,
we like that. Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah. And I guess, some people will probably judge me for the Pod Save America one. But like, I'll also listen to Ezra Klein's show. And here's the deal. I'll listen to Joe Rogan too. Like I will listen to people that, at times I'm going to have disagreements with, but there's still nuggets of truth, I think, in a lot of different places. So yeah, I'm all over the place.
So that's okay. Hey, listen to more podcasts. That's my motto.
Yeah. That probably works well for you.
Sure it does. Who's a political hero? Who inspires you? Who inspired you prior to this, and who inspires you now?
Well, I mean, obviously Obama. I think Obama for me was a time where I kind of got a lot more active and began to kind of engage in national politics in a different way than I previously had. And so I think, most people I think were inspired by Obama and what he represented. And, but I think also, I have a record player in my office, and one of the records that I have is Kennedy's speech, where, he says, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And like, I listen to that speech on occasion in the office, and, I think, that would be another inspiration of mine for sure, Kennedy.
Did you ever think you would have a life, a career in politics? Did you like run for student council as a kid?
No. No. never thought I would have. I would definitely say never. And I would argue that I haven't had a life or career in politics yet.
No.
4 years is the term, and it could very well end after 4. And I'm fully aware of that too. Like, I have no expectations on, it's been very weird in 6 months to just see how quickly things have happened, and how, twice I've been with the president of the United States, which is just, and by with, I mean like standing next to and talking to, which is not something I would have ever thought I would have the opportunity to do in my lifetime.
Right.
And so
are you glad you did this? Are you glad you did this?
Oh, 100%. I mean, this is almost like a gift. The gratitude is pretty massive from my end of like being entrusted to serve and to steward the county's resources, and to, ultimately steward this opportunity. It's definitely something I feel very grateful for. I also come at it with a very low expectation on and an awareness that it's a temporary thing. That's what a term is. And I'm grateful for the time I have, and hopeful for what doors might open in the future.
I have asked this question of several Pennsylvania officials.
Okay.
I will ask you as well. Pennsylvania is known for a lot of different cuisine. What's Harrisburg famous for? If I'm running around your town, what are we eating? What are we having? Where are we going? What's a dish? And you have a
dish.
You have a background across the nation. So if there's something that's regional that you love, let me know.
I mean, there's a lot of things. Whoopie pies. Obviously, we're in Hershey, so I'm going to take you out. I'm going to take you out to Hershey, and we're going to get some
chocolate.
That's what I'm going to say, just to be, politically safe here. But if you
started with whoopie pie, that's not a bad place to start.
Yeah.
I see a dessert trend here, by the way, Mr. CrossFit.
We're going to do dessert. That's all we're going to do.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think I'll take you to the Reese factory. We'll, drive by and smell the beautiful smell of the Reese factory.
Okay.
I think I do want to give a shout out to my people, though. If you were in my office right now, if we were doing this interview in my office and we were going to go to lunch, we would go to Downtown Deli, which is one of the best places in Harrisburg, in my opinion. That's where I go for lunch all the time. They're one of the best delis. I get something called the Vermont, and it's turkey and bacon on I believe Kaiser roll. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look, but I think that's it. Yeah.
Do you have a standing order from your staff?
Oh, they know when I walk in what I'm getting, but sometimes I mix it up. Keep them on their toes.
Are you having fun?
I am. And I'm having fun here at NACO too. Like, this is amazing to be, I'm on the Justice and Public Safety Committee, and to be talking with other leaders across the nation that are making an impact in their communities and learning from what they're doing. It's been good. And so, yeah, I'm having a lot of fun.
This is the Good Government Show. We try to end it with good government. Give me a good government project that you're working on that you're excited about. We're
trying to get a juvenile shower into our prison. On the juvenile side of our prison, we're trying to get a shower built over there. It will allow us to be in better compliance for regulations, and it's something that, for many people, it's a small thing, but it's a big thing because it's important. And so we've gone through the RFP process for that. Has been very painful because it's gone through and not got bid on because it's too small of a project to entice people to bid on it.
Okay.
But it's too big of a project for us to just go hire somebody to do it. So that's been a challenge, and I'm excited that we have now finally got a bid and we're able to start that project. So that's something that I'm excited to see government work and provide that.
So showers for kids in prison.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that we have kids in prison, but at the same time, there's compliance and regulation that we want to make sure we follow.
Justin Douglas, a new county commissioner from Dauphin County, Pennsylvania. It is a pleasure to meet you, and it is a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David.
And listen, 6 months in, 3 years, 6 months to go. Good luck.
Thank you.
I will meet you back here in 4 years.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Good. Thank you. The Good Government Show is sponsored by Our. That's OUR for Our Community. Get involved. We hear that all the time from government leaders. Our co-brands with your government's name and logo. Your staff and the people you serve are connected and part of your community. From any device, your members provide reliable data and meaningful feedback. Ask a question like, do we want more parkland or better homeless services? More engaged conversations come through the Our app. Visit Ourco, that's OURCO.com, and book a demonstration. After you get done with this episode, hear more good government stories with our friends at How to Really Run a City. Former mayors Kasim Reed of Atlanta and Michael Nutter of Philadelphia, and their co-host, journalist and author Larry Platt, talk with guests and other mayors about how to really get stuff done in cities around the nation. Check them out where you're listening now or through their nonprofit news site, thephiladelphiacitizen.org/podcasts. I like what Dauphin County Commissioner Justin Douglas said. He said politics is how a community agrees to organize. Different, he said, than partisan politics. He got off to a pretty impressive start. After 2 days in office, he was called to introduce former President Joe Biden during a campaign rally when he started his re-election campaign. Say what you will about the campaign, but giving a speech for the president is pretty awesome stuff for a brand new elected official. More people voting and more people involved. That's good government, and that's another area Justin Douglas is working on. As he said, it's important to have young candidates from both parties running for office and taking their seats in government. And that's good government. Well, that's our show. Thanks for listening. Please like us and share us with your friends and review us right here where you're listening. And check out our website, goodgovernmentshow.com, for extras. Help us keep telling stories of good government and action everywhere. Join us again for another episode right here. I'm Dave Martin, and this is The Good Government Show. The Good Government Show is a Valley Park production. Jim Ludlow, Dave Martin, that's me, and David Snyder are the executive producers. Our show is edited and produced by Jason Stershic. Please subscribe, then share us, and like us and review us. That's the best way to make sure we're able to keep telling these stories of our government working for all of us. Then listen to the next episode of The Good Government Show.